They told us that pride goes before the fall. They said self-celebration was vanity, that a good woman stayed humble, which really just meant she stayed quiet, stayed small, and never took up too much space. And a lot of us did exactly that. We made ourselves disappear on purpose because we were told that was holy. It turns out that wasn't humility. That was a control spell, and it's been running in your body ever since. If you've ever felt a full body flinch when someone asks you what you're proud of, this video is for you. If celebrating yourself feels selfish, if naming your own worth makes your stomach turn, if pride still sounds like a warning and not a feeling, stay with me. Hi, I'm Melanie. I'm your witchy mother. I help women who left control-based systems remember their own power and live it daily. My work is grounded in sovereignty, practical witchcraft, and truth-telling you can feel in your body. And for the record, I grew up in the home of a Baptist preacher, so when I say I know this material from the inside out, I mean that literally. This is deconditioning work for women raised in high control systems, and today we're talking about the pride sermons that made us disappear. My dad is an ordained Baptist preacher. He's a good man, I want to be clear about that. He loves me and he always had good intentions. But the theology he was handed, the framework that he operated inside, taught him and then taught me that pride was basically a contagious disease. Pride goes before the fall, Proverbs 16:18. I heard that verse so many times as a kid that it became a reflex. Any spark of self-celebration I had got immediately dosed with guilt before it could even flicker. Put others first. Don't think too highly of yourself. It's not all about you. And look, some of that is genuinely about community care, and I get it. But there's a massive difference between being rooted enough in yourself that you can genuinely care for others and being told to erase yourself so thoroughly that the community runs on your invisible labor. That second thing isn't virtue. That's a system that needs free help. Here's the thing about religious shame scripts around pride. They weren't targeted equally. Men were allowed to be confident, ambitious, certain of their calling. They were allowed to lead, to speak with authority, to take up space. Women were taught to interpret that same confidence in themselves as arrogance, as vanity, as a sin. That's not theology. That's a power structure protecting itself. If you were raised in a high-control religious system and you still can't take a compliment without deflecting, your body learned that visibility was dangerous. I want to ask you something, and I want you to actually feel your body's response when I ask it. When someone says, "You did a really great job," what happens in you? Do you receive it? Or do you immediately say, "Oh, it was nothing. Honestly, I had so much help." God gets the glory. Anything to redirect it off of yourself before it can land. That deflection, that reflex, it's not humility. That is a trained response to the very real threat that you once felt when you were seen and celebrated. Because somewhere along the way, being seen felt like breaking a rule. The disappearing looks like this. You minimize your accomplishments in your conversations. You apologize for your wins. You attribute everything to luck or God or other people and almost nothing to yourself. You feel genuinely uncomfortable when someone holds attention on you for too long, and when you do allow yourself a moment of, "I'm actually good at this," there's almost always a second voice that follows immediately behind it saying, "That's arrogant. Who do you think you are?" That second voice isn't your voice. That's an echo. I'm going to ask you something in the comments. When is the last time that you let yourself be fully proud of something without immediately diminishing it? Drop it below in the comments because I want to witness you. This is glamour magic for ex-church girls, and the practice I'm about to teach you takes less than 60 seconds. I want to give you something you can do today, not in 6 months after you've processed all your childhood trauma. Today. My favorite spell for remembrance is red lipstick. I know that sounds almost too simple, but here's what I mean. I can be completely barefaced, hair a mess, wearing pajamas, But the moment that color hits my lips, something shifts. There's this internal hum that shows up that says, I'm here, I'm divine, deal with it. That is intentional adornment as an act of reclamation. It's not just normal beauty standards. It's choosing a signal, a physical, sensory anchor that tells your nervous system, I'm allowed to be seen. Here's how to do it. Pick something, a color, a piece of jewelry, a scent, anything that feels like you taking up space. Put it on deliberately, slowly, and as you do it, say out loud, even in a whisper, I am allowed to be witnessed. That's it. That's the spell. Repeat this every single day this week. The church taught me that pride was a sin. What I know now is that honoring yourself is an act of worship. Because when I celebrate the version of me that survived everything that tried to erase her, I'm honoring the piece of the divine that lives inside this body, and she deserves to be seen. I want to speak to the part of you that's watching this and thinking, okay, but there's a version of pride that is actually a problem. Isn't humility genuinely valuable? Yes, absolutely. And I want to make a distinction. True humility is having an accurate view of yourself, not an artificially deflated one. It's knowing both your gifts and your limits without shame about either. That version of humility is grounded and honest and actually useful. What was sold to us in high control systems, especially to women, wasn't humility. It was self-erasure dressed up in religious language. It was a way to keep us compliant, invisible, and easy to manage. The fact that it came from people who loved us doesn't make it less of a cage. Here's the one-sentence truth of this whole conversation. The programming that taught you to disappear did not make you holy. It made you easier to control. And you are allowed to unlearn it. If you've been watching this going, I feel this in my whole body, I made something for you. It's a 2-minute quiz called What's Your Obedient Contract Costing You? And it'll tell you exactly which area of your life is most impacted by the conditioning we just talked about. The link is in the description and pinned in the comments below. Go take it, it's free, and it will tell you something true. I'll see you next week.